Good afternoon and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Sidibe, a player from France who stands at over 2 meters too tall. He's an absolute giant. Let's face it, he's 6'6". Celtic do need some height in their team, but what's interesting about him and the fact that we've been linked with Matthias again, and the price tag for Matthias is around about what it was back in December. But the more that I look at this guy, and this is the reason, I'm going to give you the reasons that I think that this is why Celtic have made the £1.7 million offer so far, is the fact that he can play in both centre-back positions. Now, we all know that the centre-back position, the number one spot, is taken up by the man mountain that is Cameron. He's not really a man mountain, is he? But Cameron Carter-Vickers is the number one at the back. Somebody 6'6" next to him would be a colossal back defence. It would be a colossal back line. But the interesting bit, he can also play the defensive mid in the central mid positions. So he can play in the position that Callum McGregor comes into. He can also play in the position that, and this is why I think that it's important, that Greg Taylor comes into in the middle of the pitch. He plays that position also, and he can come into that position, which says to me that he can play the position similar to what Greg Taylor. Now, maybe the Celtic are thinking, yep, we'll go for him if Greg Taylor doesn't sign. Or maybe they're thinking, you know what, we need another type of player that can play that position well when Kieran Tierney's in the team. Because let's face it, Kieran Tierney doesn't like coming into the middle of the pitch the way that Greg Taylor does. Now, it could be a little bit of change of formation. It could be the fact that Celtic could get their hands on a fantastic utility player for under £2 million. At 26-year-old, he is a little bit older than what we would normally pay or go for, but his contract expires on the 30th of June 2026, so he does only have a year on his contract, which means that Celtic will be able to get him for the right price in Celtic terms. And other news today is, well, it's not other news, it's just a continuation of the news that has went on and on and on. And I think a lot of us are just now are at the point where, look, either just sign the damn player or just come out and say that he's not of interest. As simple as that. Celtic should just come out and say, look, yeah, Matthias was somebody we were interested in, but they're not going to do that. I mean, no club does come out and say, yeah, well, we're interested in him at one point, but we're not now. There is a couple of papers today talking about the Matthias one again, and the price tag for him is sitting at 15 million. 15 million. Celtic obviously went in and tried to get him in the January transfer window. They're now saying it was 15 million in the December. They're now saying at least £11 million to get the player. £11 million to get the player. Is he worth the £11 million to Celtic? And it's going to be, I really hope that the transfer window this summer, is concluded quickly. The fact that it's now starting to ramp up, we're getting to the final 4 games of the season, and speculation is starting to ramp up just a little bit more, because let's face it, the last couple of weeks there's been not really a lot to speak of. The fact is, Celtic do need to get players in one way or another. Greg Taylor's got 4 games left at Celtic. If we can't get that concluded by the end of the season, I don't think it'll be done during the summer. I think that he'll be left to go to pastures new. And Brendan Rodgers has already said, like, Brendan Rodgers did say, he says, look, I've been through this thing before, and when it gets to this late stage, the possibility of the player staying is decreasing by the minute, and the expectation is for him to leave, hence the reason that we could be going for this French guy. What do you think about him? 6'6". When you see the size of the team that played against us up in Dundee United, not that we need a lot of high players, but tall players, but when it comes to the SPFL and European football, you did see in the Champions League last year that we were outnumbered. And you've got to be honest, when was the last time that we scored from a free kick? When was the last time that was scored? Now, I got told this at the pub on Saturday, but remember back in the day, you would have Pierre Van Hooijdonk, you would have John Cadet, not George Cadet, you would have John Collins, just to name a few, Nakamura, do you know, even Lee Griffiths. We always had players that, and it's fine saying, look, this team now doesn't need to rely on free kicks from outside the box. But it's just an interesting fact that it's been a long time since we scored a goal from a direct free kick. Now that we're trying to get to the ball into the box, our corners, I mean, how many corners do we get in games on an ongoing basis? And how many times do we score? It's one of the things that we need a big tall player. I think that we're getting in a big tall target man. Getting a big target man in for corners. And I think that's something that obviously the backroom staff have looked at. It'll be one of these niggling little stats that they go, you know, the amount of corners that we get, we should be putting at least a percentage of them into the back of the net, and we don't. Fair enough, you've had Liam Scales has scored from a header this season, and Austin Trusty scored from a header from the back. Cameron Carter-Vickers scored from a header, I think, as well in one game. But it's not enough, is it? We do get beat quite easily when it comes to corners, and even getting the second ball in the box type thing. But anyway, that's a talk for another day. Might even be a talk for tonight. Are these players worth the money? Is 1.7 that has allegedly already been put on the table for the towering French player, Sidibe. Is he worth the money? At 26-year-old, a fantastic utility player. He can play on the left, he can play on the right of defence. He can also play in that holding midfield role that Callum McGregor plays, that would allow him to get further forward. And a few of you have been saying, look, Callum plays better further forward. But we've never really had anyone to dominate that midfield. Could this be the guy to come in and dominate the midfield, especially going into the Champions League next season? I think that sometimes we were a little bit light in midfield when you go height-wise. But I'm sure Brendan Rodgers and the backroom staff will be trying to make their money. An interesting thought. There's only one of these that's a new name. Paul Tisdale was brought in as this transfer guru for changing the team around. There's not a lot being said about him just now. It'll be interesting to see the type of player that we do get linked with over the next couple of weeks, because that's when it all kind of starts to kick off. Players running down their contract, players going into the last year of their contract, getting linked with Celtic. Will it be the case that Celtic will be linked with every player going? Reports coming out of France say that they're looking for €3 million, which is about £25 million for the player, but we'll wait and see. I'm not going to get too overly hyped with transfer speculation at this moment, because we've got a game against the Sevco this weekend. What do you think the score will be for that? Fans told to restrict, and there is a bit of news coming out about Celtic have warned fans. It's always the same. They've got that little walk of death. Celtic fans told restricted Rangers clash entry rules. And the exact allocation is revealed. Celtic fans attending, around 2,000 Celtic fans. How is the allocation being dropped? Because it was meant to be 2,500. So now it turns out that they're getting, I mean, we've got a bigger stadium than them. That's why they get to bring more to our stadium, because we have the bigger stadium. But there's going to be around about 2,000 Celtic fans for the final Glasgow Derby. Extra security measures have been put in place. Police Scotland have said that an action to escort Celtic supporters inside the stadium by 10:30. Celtic liaison officer John Paul Taylor said that this week fans have a valid match ticket are requested to get out at the Broomlawn Coach Park for 9:30, with a view to being in the stadium for around about 10:30. Fucking that shithole stadium car park will be full of Celtic fans, the 2,000 waiting to get in. At least they're not going to have to walk of death along that tunnel. I don't know, who cares? Let's just get the game done and dusted with, and just put that mob back in their place and show them that we are the champions, and tell them exactly that we are the champions. On that note, make sure you join me tonight, 8 p.m, Celtic part-time, where we can talk about these players. The speculation, is Matthias really the answer for Celtic? He's not come across as prolific. Can he be prolific for Celtic? And should Celtic be looking at a 6'6" defender? 6'6". All right there, big man. Can you imagine me, James Forrest, standing next to him in the team lineup? All right there, how you doing? On that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.